Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles. I'm going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to talk about Wizards of the Coast. I'm going to talk about them stepping in it over and over and over again. And yeah, I don't even know what this game is anymore. And I'm like, does it really matter? I mean, I think if Wizards of the Coast has it their way, they're probably going to wind up licensing the entire system out before it's all said and done. And they'll probably just use AI to generate all the game mechanics. I have another video clip I think I'm going to post from a couple of days ago. I did a live stream and we talked about them getting busted again for using AI. Now they're not even lying about it. They're like, yeah, we're just going to use AI to make our stuff now. That's what we're going to do. Deal with it. So, or not, or you could just go back and play the old stuff, right? It's still good. Your books still work, right? So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants, guys. Go out to news.clownfishtv.com. Help support the channel. $5 a month. You can get some paywalled content, or you can just subscribe to be notified when we drop new videos. So Kevin Lamb here has been following this. This is the new starter set, right? Which is a new take on the Keep on the Borderlands, which is a classic module. Gary Gygax himself wrote this module. And this was a lot of people's first adventure. And, again, it's kind of hallowed ground, but they're redoing it with this new starter set, which I'm looking at it. And it looks a lot like a board game. I mean, I guess that D&D has gone more down that road with 5e, but yeah, honestly, it looks overly complicated for starting adventure. And I'm like, where do you even start with D&D now? Like, you know what I'm saying? They got like basic, like 5 different basic sets, and then they got the player's guide and the dungeon master's guide. And it's like, it's so if you're a new player and you want to get into D&D, it's like, it's hard to even know where to start because there's so many starting points, right? Yeah, I mean, people are kind of roasting it because if you really look at it, I mean, this looks sufficiently Dungeons and Dragon-y, but if you really look at the artwork, to me, it looks like some kind of a cozy game. And I know he's been kind of going through it and kind of roasting it. The cover, I don't really have that much of a problem with, but whatever. I mean, what I have a problem with is when they go back and, retcon characters like the warrior on the box set, right? The basic set. And obviously a male warrior, and they're like, oh no, it's a thick brown woman now because, current year. And I'm like, no. But if you go out to his timeline, and I hope he doesn't mind me using this, you can see like here we had a minotaur. Now we have a lamb. Like what? This looks like a Hallmark greeting card. Yeah, the cavorting sheep is actually a demon in disguise luring you into a trap, right? Nope, it belongs to Cornflower, and this is her quest. This is what I'm talking about. It looks like a cozy sim, farming sim. Cornflower. Quest, Billy Goat Wrangling. After introducing herself and explaining the barn's services, Cornflower confessed that she could use the character's help. Read the following text. Last night, I accidentally left the goat pen unlocked, and this morning, all the goats were gone. Is that a euphemism? I'm sure they're still within the keep, but I need to tend to the other animals here. Make sure no other ones get loose. Track down them missing goats for me. So it's kind of cute, right? Again, you go out to the original and there wasn't a lot of cute. It was just, it was just straight up sorcery hacking. We've also got the obligatory fantasy wheelchair. Lamb says it's even worse than I thought. Actual character art from the original Keep on the Borderlands on the left, ruffian shaking someone down literally, compared to WotC's remake featuring someone's disgruntled Asian aunt in a wheelchair. So yeah, this is what I think of when I think of D&D, but I also am old, and this is what 5e players think of when they think D&D. Look, I don't have a problem, if you want to do that in your campaign or whatever, but it is very strange to look at Dungeons and Dragons and like every campaign has to be as diverse and inclusive as possible. And there was, speaking of campaigns, there was a campaign against D&D for a good number of years, and it's still ongoing in parts of Portland, that D&D itself is problematic because it was too white, and it was based on Tolkien, and his stuff was too white, and the guys that made it were too white and too male. And they're from the Midwest, which is a crime in and of itself. And they've actually called attention to that in the 50th anniversary book, which is why I personally am not going to buy any more Dungeons and Dragons anything. Because I'm like, if you can't even respect where the stuff came from and who made it, then why should I give you my money? But people are going to buy it, but it looks like the new basic set to me looks like something your wine aunt, your childless 38-year-old, wine aunt, cat mom would buy to play with her friends when they want to LARP as role players, right? That's, I guess, can you LARP as a role player? If you're role playing and LARPing, then you LARP as a role player. You LARP as a D&D player. Yeah, but that's a whole thing. I don't know who this is for, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm not that impressed, to be honest, but it's not for me. It's not for me, but this is like, when I think D&D, yeah, this is what I think. 70s, early 80s fantasy art, swords and sorcery, this kind of stuff. This stuff's really cool. So moving on, let's talk about Magic the Gathering too, while we're at it, because they're not scoring any points either. But see, here's the thing that's so weird about this. I don't think normies are paying attention to the social media accounts of a lot of these companies. I think they just go to the store and buy the stuff they like. And the reason I'm thinking that is we're seeing more and more that a lot of these game publishers and comic book creators, whatever, saying some really stupid, dumb, offensive shit on social media. And people get outraged about it online, but there really very seldom are real world repercussions for that. I mean, we did see the writer of Red Hood, was it Red Hood? Got fired from DC Comics. And I'm not pushing for people to get fired necessarily, unless they're cheering on death, unless they're advocating for violence, or saying something really stupid, illegal, going after customers, stuff like that, right? But this one, just God. So this is a D&D artist mocking Charlie Kirk and posting memes wishing death on Trump. Is this a real thing? So people called him out, I guess, and he removed his Todd Lockwood, who removed my Kirk outpost too soon. Here we have on September 4th. Is he dead? I've seen this one around. Is he dead yet? Asked Piglet. No, said Pooh. Fuck, said Piglet. I can't believe it's already. Is he dead yet? See, we know who they're talking about. They try to be cute. They're wishing for death on, who they're, the orange one. They would like the orange one to disappear. I still have my holy shit, he's going to start World War III decorations up. Yeah. So look, most of the people working in this industry, in the tabletop industry, definitely lean a certain way. And I have my theories as to why that is. And I've talked about it before. And I think it's because of the geographic location, in part. I think because a lot of this stuff, again, Wizards of the Coast, it was in the Pacific Northwest. I think, and Paizo also is in the Pacific Northwest. And we know the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for far left activism, right? I mean, it is. And that's just part of the culture up there of the people that are in the comics and games. They joke about the comic mafia. There are so many comic book creators that are in Portland. I mean, Portland itself has like freaking probably half the comic shops in the U.S. are in Portland. Half the game shops in the U.S. seem like they're in Portland, right? So yeah, there's a high concentration of that particular political affinity, and that's where all this stuff is coming from, and that's where a lot of these people live and work, and this is what they know. This is if they were going after Gary Gygax and company because they were reflecting the values of middle-aged men in the Midwest, then I would say modern Wizards of the Coast reflects the values of 20, 30 something non-binary people in the Pacific Northwest. That's just it, right? But the thing is they do constitute a very small percentage of America. So they're producing, and this is just in general, same with Hollywood, you've got a very small percentage of people producing content for a general audience. The general audience rejects it. Then they get mad about it because they don't understand. How can the country be full of so many damn bigots? We don't understand why the map is so red. It's because you live in a bubble. You do. You live in a bubble. Most of these people live in a bubble, and they talk to people. They only talk to people who are like-minded, and they've kind of curated these industries, right? And it's like, look, I believe people should be allowed to have their own political opinions, but I also believe when you have a business to run, you got to realize that not everybody's going to feel the same way, right? So when you put these virtue signals out, you got to realize there's going to be some pushback from people that don't feel the same way that you do. And your job as a game manufacturer or a comic book publisher or whatever is to produce entertainment, ideally for a general audience, because if it's for a general audience, especially if you work for a company like Hasbro, then the company makes more money. If you want to curate your audience, then you go out independently and you go do your own thing, right? And then you can sell to a very small demographic like thirsty sword lesbians or whatever that game is. Like, you can go sell to a very small audience, and more power to you, right? If you only get 500 people buy your game, but you're happy with that's fine. That's fine. You know, but this is Wizards of the Coast. They're part of Hasbro. So, Phantom Pulse had this. Magic the Gathering players are revolting against Wizards of the Coast's latest LGBTQIA plus activism push. So apparently, in the thick of all this stuff, and we've got, people, gleefully cheering on the death of Charlie Kirk and, setting their watches, hoping the orange one is next. Now we've got Wizards out there putting the support trans lifeline message up, which, they can do that. But like I said, when a company takes a position like that, you are potentially alienating your audience, but I don't think they care. I mean, Magic at this point is like so flush with cash. Like, they make so much money. I don't think they can afford to do this. I think they can afford to piss people off, because I don't think normies are paying any attention to what's going on with Wizards. I don't think they're paying any attention to it. I think they're going to go buy their Magic cards, with the comic shop every week to keep the, handful of comic shops in business. And they're not paying attention unless it's like in the card deck itself. They're not paying attention to the politics of the people who make the stuff. And, they'll take your money, but a lot of them hate you, which is very weird. It's very weird to see. Like, they talk about all the bigots and the Nazis, and in a lot of cases, they're talking about anybody on the right or anybody with any smidgen of conservatism in them. Anybody who advocates for like normal families and whatever, like they don't like that. A lot of these people, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of these people don't like that. They think it's bigotry, and, and it's so weird to be like, yeah, we'll gleefully take your money. We will absolutely take your money. But just so you know, I hate your guts, but I need your money. Right. And this is why people are like, vote with your dollars, shut the money off if they're not giving you what you want. And I'm not saying like go out and just, boycott people because you got your hair up your ass about something stupid. But like, if they actually do hate you, why are you paying them? It's like paying a waiter to spit in your food or a chef to spit in your food, because that's kind of what they're doing. I mean, I'm just saying, you do you, boo. And there are some people, there are many, I would say the vast majority of people can separate, like, these are my personal political beliefs or my personal religious beliefs or whatever, and this is my job. But man, those loud ones, right? They damage the company. They always damage the company. So this is Magic the Gathering. Tune in right now to join Wizards of the Coast supporting the trans lifeline. Now, according to, and again, I'm only going by Phantom Pulse, I don't know, but they said that apparently they were scamming money. This organization, another player pointed out the selective nature of the company's activism, right? How about supporting your Christian Magic players who are needing encouragement after our churches have come under massive violence? My deck is equal to anyone's deck. My card matters just as much. Not to them, it doesn't. I'm going to be honest. Okay, here we go. The controversy deepened when research into Trans Lifeline revealed troubling organizational issues. According to ChatGPT, the nonprofit has also faced serious controversies. Its co-founders were removed in 2018 for misusing funds. Critics fault it for limited hours and capacity compared to traditional hotlines, and missteps like a poorly run hiring lottery. What? What's a hiring lottery? In 2025, reinforced perceptions of disorganization. So the latest incident caps years of escalating political messaging from Wizards of the Coast that alienated much of Magic's traditional player base. People are still buying the licensed cards, though. That's that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's so weird about it. Actually, that's kind of what kept me from buying. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. I saw the Final Fantasy cards, and I'm like, God, I am so tempted to buy these because I have not touched Magic in 20 years plus. Like I've never was and I'll be honest, I've never been a huge Magic player, huge D&D player back in the day, but not a huge Magic player. I'm not really into collectible card games that much. But you do you, boo. I know they're crazy popular or whatever. Hell, Tim Pool had a bunch of boxes, I think, in the background on his one stream, so he's playing it too. We know JD Vance does. They don't like that either. But yeah, I just kind of like, I'm like, man, they're so political. And then beyond that, just their business practices are shit. And I'm like, I don't want to give Wizards any more money. I just don't want to give them any money at this point. So I didn't get any of the Final Fantasy cards, and they're beautiful. And I was looking, because our one dog is named Vivi, and I was looking at the Vivi card, and I was like, I might just buy this one card. And I'm like, no, you know what? I don't want to. I just, it's like, again, you do you. I'm not calling for a boycott or anything. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people, this company in particular, do not like you. And by you, I mean like normal people, right? I'm not even talking like, you know, raging right wing, MAGA hat wearing, whatever. I'm talking like a lot of people at these tabletop companies do not like normal middle of the road people. Like, to them, you're alt-right, which is so fucking weird. They think Bill Maher is alt-right. I'm like, it's just tabletop and comics, man. There's so many people. There's so far left. And it's, again, I think a lot of it is where this stuff is made. They said, yeah, the transformation began in 2020 when the company removed several cards, including Invoke Prejudice, Cleanse, Stone Throwing Devils, Gypsies, Jihad, Prison, and Crusade. Media outlets praised these removals as eliminating racist cards, but players saw it as the beginning of aggressive political correctness infiltrating the hobby. That is true. That is 100% true that they started back then. Actually, it started before that with, again, D&D and Tolkien. They were trying to say that the orcs are racist and just putting a bunch of nonsense, modern age nonsense into the game that was never there to begin with. And they tried to distance themselves from Gary Gygax, and Gary Gygax was, to the best of my knowledge, a practicing Christian. I know he was libertarian. He was definitely more right wing, and they hate that because every chance they had, like right after actually before the man died, they were slamming him on D&D message boards because they didn't like his politics. And I don't think he was ever like in anybody's face about it. I don't think he was ever like, you know, getting out there and telling people to go, you know, suck a bag of whatever, you know, hey, libtards, whatever. But I don't think he was doing any of that. I know that they would dig up articles he wrote, and yeah, it's just crazy. It was a reach because they found out he was conservative, and that's what happens. These people are so just pickled, as Geeky says, with politics, that if they find out that you even lean right, or you are a Christian, even if you're not a terribly good one or a really loud Christian, you're just quietly Christian, they hate it. So they'll go find like every little thing you've ever done and try to use it to get you, because they got to get you because you're part of the problem. You're part of the cis hetero white normative cis patriarchy thing, or whatever the fuck they talk about. I have no idea, but it's just really weird to see. It's weird to see of all the industries, tabletop be so left wing. Because it never was. Like, it never was. It was like, it's just very weird. They said, yeah, they have explicit trans representation through cards like Alicia, who smiles at death. They have, the Tolkien cards. Again, that is a huge issue with a lot of these people. Tolkien's too white, even though it's supposed to be a fictional history of Britain. Tolkien's too white, so we had to make Aragorn a black dude. Just like they had to make changes to Amazon's Lord of the Rings, where we had, you know, a bunch of brown hobbits. And I'm like, well, what happened to them? Brown hobbits and brown dwarves. Where'd they go? What happened there? Something had to happen, because by the time the movies rolled around, they weren't around anymore. So that's actually worse when you think about it. I'm just saying. So yeah, it's just very weird. And yeah, they do point out correctly that the recent success of Magic comes from crossover sets featuring other IP. Universes Beyond has Spider-Man, Final Fantasy, and other franchises. They perform well because they focus on beloved characters and gameplay rather than political messaging. Yeah, Final Fantasy just killed it, and I was so tempted. I was so tempted to buy Final Fantasy, but I'm like, I don't want to give Wizards any money. That's just me. You do you. If you want to give Wizards money, you want to keep giving them money, go for it. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you where to spend your money. I'm just saying the company's gotten very weird for the last decade plus. And I personally don't want to give them any more money. I'm just saying. I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.